The city of Internetsville.
Is under attack!
Well, what else is new?
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
under attack by a giant 20 feet tall troll.
I was thinking that, but I was second guessing myself not to make that joke.
Well, too late, I guess. Okay, so we're doing another one of these Powerpuff casts because why not?
Yes.
We have time to spare.
Yes, and also we decided to talk about the one-shot villains of the series.
Sure, why not? Mostly because some of those were really interesting, but they were never actually reproposed in future episodes. They were only used once, and
Yeah.
one-shot villains. And for that reason, we're not going to do a classification of sorts like we did with the recurring villains. We're just going to chat about them.
Yes, just shoot the breeze, so to speak.
Once again, we have the Arkvaran.
Yep, I'm right here.
And joining us once again is SC2 Nightmare.
Hello.
Whom has a faint memory of the show as it is, so his input in this conversation is going to be of fundamental importance.
Yes, of course.
Then again, I'm going from memory as well. I just watched them so many times that I remember.
Well, my memory is super fresh because I did a binge marathoning of the entire series, as you know by now.
Yeah.
So, okay, so if you have any doubts, I'll be there to clarify them for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
we should start with the first one-shot villains that were ever proposed in this show. In fact, he comes from the very first episode. He is the Roach Coach.
Oh, the Roach Coach.
The Roach Coach.
I remember him.
That was the guy that covered himself in cockroaches, right?
Yes.
Yes. And I remember him,
it's impossible to forget.
I remember him as the guy who goes like, "Look at them down there. You hear that, Townsville? I'm going to take over. It's just a matter of time. It's 10 o'clock."
Yeah, it's 8 o'clock.
Yes.
I'm correcting him because I remember.
Yes.
So
I don't think anyone cares about the number. It's just I got the joke right, just not entirely correct.
Alright, so the whole deal with the Roach Coach is that he wants to take over the world, so big whoop for that. But he has an army of cockroaches, and he himself is an actual android with a cockroach piloting it. It is never actually explained or given a backstory for this super intelligent cockroach, but we don't really need that.
Yes.
It's Townsville.
Anything can happen in Townsville.
Yes, everything can happen in this universe, and you don't really need to explain that. I mean, Mojo is the one exception because a backstory was given to him, but you don't really want to know where him comes from. I mean, he's the devil. What else do you need to know about him?
Well,
He's
no.
pure evil.
Well, it's just it's just my memory of the Roach Coach. Other than that one scene where it just seemed like it was just a silly episode with him in it, the Roach Coach, just because it was the Powerpuff Girls had to find a way to get over their fear of cockroaches.
Well, actually, that wasn't even much of a conflict to begin with, because it seems to me that the Roach Coach had completely misunderstood the intentions of the Powerpuff Girls when it comes to the cockroaches. Because it was established earlier on in the episode that they shouldn't smash them because they're also living creatures. But according to the Roach Coach, he basically says that they are afraid of my cockroaches, so they won't smash them. And he got that completely wrong, because Buttercup was immediately going to smash them, but Blossom tell her, no, we shouldn't do that, because they are innocent animals and all that.
Yeah, now you remind me of that.
So that brings a giant monkey wrench in the credibility of the villain. This oversight, this majestic oversight. But then again, this can be forgiven, because I believe Insect Inside, that's the name of this episode, was the very first episode of the very first season of the show. And you know, the show at the time was still trying to figure out what exactly it wanted to be. And up until we got into the episode in which Sedusa was introduced, this show only then started to acquire a complete emotional range of presentation and storytelling and all of that, which was only like 3 episodes down the line.
Yeah.
Actually, it was, yes. Actually, I think it was 2 episodes down the line, but anyway.
Yeah, so other than the fact that he's got cockroaches and he's just silly, there's really not much else I can think of to talk about Roach Coach. He's not...
Well, the way the episode ended pretty much establishes that that's the last we'll ever see of the Roach Coach.
Yeah, because there's really not much else to talk about him, really, other than the fact he looks like a complete slob when he's in the robot.
And yet, you always see him in the rogue gallery in the opening title sequence of every episode.
Yeah, that was a bit...
You know, come to think of it, I think the coolest one-shot villains, most of the one-shot villains were actually from Season 1.
Yeah, I remember a lot of them coming in from Season 1.
And only Season 1, because otherwise they wouldn't be one-shot villains. Right?
Yes, one shot.
So, Nightmare, do you remember the Roach Coach?
Vaguely.
Yeah, see, since he was the one that brought up the fact they had cockroaches all over him.
So here's a trio of villains that are even more obscure than the Roach Coach.
Yeah.
Remember that episode in which these 3 random criminals decided to dress up as the Powerpuff Girls?
Oh, those guys, and they were like leering at Miss Bellum.
Yeah, sweet cheeks. Honestly, I'm glad they were a one-shot villain because
that was tasteless.
Because then we get the Gangrene Gang to fill that role. So
I don't know why.
They were far more effective in that regard.
Yeah, the 3 bank robbers dressed as the
bank robbers, jewel robbers, mayor harassers.
Yeah,
power bluffs.
They're the power bluffs.
It's what the wiki calls them.
The Powerpuff Bluff. That's the title of the episode too.
No offense. Well, not no offense. That episode, its tone with those guys didn't feel quite right.
Well, like I said, first 2 episodes, Roach Coach and Powerpuff Bluff. The very first 2 segments. So, not starting in the best of ways, but it was still a beginning.
Yeah, still the start of great things to come.
Yes. Also, okay, this episode has one of the most ghastly and terrifying animation errors in the entire show.
What would that be?
Okay, so in the final shot, when the mayor basically tells the Powerpuff Girls they have to go back to prison. Okay, if you focus your attention on Miss Bellum on the left,
yeah,
you can notice 2 things that are downright the stuff of horrors, of night terrors.
What is she like?
Her slender neck is like twice as long, and her hair, her puffy perm style hair, actually begins. It begins in the lower section of the neck, and it's like attached to the back.
So it's like Cousin It with a woman's body.
It's like the most horrifying thing ever. You should check out that episode just to see that final shot. It's not. It's there. How come nobody noticed that? It's horrifying.
because anyone who was young at the time wouldn't be looking for that.
Oh man. Just wow. Okay, moving on to this one. We come to one of the coolest villains this show has ever seen, and it's just a travesty he didn't have any more appearances. The Boogeyman.
Oh yeah, the groovy boogeyman.
Yeah.
We're gonna be
Yeah,
dancing all night long.
Yes, this party's gonna last all night long, baby.
I must admit that character and the plan is completely awesome.
Yes, I mean, he'd be okay. So he wants to rave all night long, all nights forever.
Yes, he wants eternal night.
For the lights to rave like crazy, disco dancing and partying, street rave party for all eternity, man.
And what does he do? He covers the sun with a giant disco ball.
He builds a giant disco ball, Death Star in shape, so you can do a Star Wars reference at the end, to cover up the sun. And then all the monsters come out and recreation and terrify humans and dance some more and drink and do all sorts of crazy stuff. That episode was awesome.
I wouldn't be surprised if that particular episode took inspiration from the 80s Ghostbusters cartoon series that had a similar thing happen.
Well, I know what the Boogeyman's speech to his fellow monsters took inspiration from.
Oh, do you enlighten us?
He was basically Cyrus from the beginning of The Warriors.
Ah.
Can you dig it?
Can you dig it?
Can you dig it? He had that vibe to him.
Yes,
and then he turns into Tony Manero with the leisure suit when it comes to go to the party. And
comes in style and fashionably late.
Yes, that guy is amazing. And then the climax of the episode is basically one giant Star Wars reference with the girls flying into space to blow up the Death Star disco ball, and the Boogeyman turning his limo into a TIE fighter.
Yes,
basically. And the fact that he was never actually defeated, he basically fell off screen the same way Darth Vader did in the original Star Wars, would make you think, he's going to return, isn't he? Nope. That's the last time we ever heard of the Boogeyman outside of the comics. Because yes, he's back in the comics, baby.
Yes, the comics are the best for him. It's a shame. It's a shame as well because the guy had a lot of style to him.
Yes.
And
that
charisma that you expect from the Powerpuff Girl villains.
Yeah, well, he was one of the most charismatic,
especially of the one-shot variety. Anyway.
Yes. That episode was also very interesting from a visual standpoint and a musical standpoint. I had the Boogeyman theme stuck in my head. Da-da-dun, da-da-da-dun, da-da-da-da-dun. It's great.
Yes, it's a very groovy 70s or
groovy. It's boogie. It's boogie. Get it?
Yes,
that's
boogie.
Boogeyman. And we get Bubbles overcoming her fears on the side, which is a plus.
Yes, that's always a big plus when we have to deal with Bubbles having to get over the fear of the boogeyman.
Also, on a completely unrelated note, it's interesting to notice how much the performance of the voice actresses for our favorite kindergartners changes over the years of the show. If you see the show season after season like I did, and you get to season 5 and 6, the quality of the voice acting did get a lot worse. I cannot explain why that happened, because once they reprised the roles for the 2008 special, the voices sounded right again, but in the last 2 seasons of the official run of the show, Bubbles sounded like someone who was trying to imitate Bubbles' voice. And Buttercup's already raspy voice sounded too old for her character, which was not a problem in the earlier seasons. It's weird.
Yeah, I wouldn't know anything about that because I stopped watching after season 3. I think.
Okay, let me suggest you something. If you there is only one required viewing, I'd say two required viewings from the last two seasons.
Yeah.
One is the episode in which Buttercup goes into the mountains to train with a Tibetan master of Zen to try to control her own rage, and which is nice. Which is really nice.
It sounds familiar, but I don't know if I actually watched it or not.
And another one is the episode "See Me, Feel Me, Know Me."
Oh yeah, that one. That we'll come back to that one later. I think.
Two words: rock opera.
Yes,
That sounds excellent.
it is.
It kind of is.
It's glorious.
It's actually not as good on a second viewing. It was far more spectacular the first time. But hey, the villain! Oh boy, we'll get to that.
Yes.
We'll actually leave that one for last.
Yeah. Anyway, the
Okay,
next one.
Next one, immediately after that, we have in the same episode, the second segment of the same episode, we have Abracadabra.
I actually remember him a lot just because.
He's a zombie magician. It's basically if Houdini came back to life to use his now supernatural zombie magic powers to accept revenge on the world.
Yeah, all because he was laughed at.
Actually, come to think of it, of all the villains in this show, Illusion, which was the name of the magician when he was alive,
Yeah.
has the darkest backstory.
Yeah, extremely.
Extremely dark. Extremely violent, too.
Yeah,
Okay.
I remember the mayor was recounting the tale of seeing the show,
Which
was,
turned into a silent film, appropriately enough.
Yeah.
The flashback.
I should know because I was there.
You know, the mayor was a lot less dumb in the first season.
Yeah, they really upped his dumbness as seasons went on.
I think the mayor level of dumbness was perfect in between season 2 and season 4. And then by season 5, they made him so dumb he actually turned to be unlikable. You know, like Patrick Star.
Oh gosh, no.
Yes, I'm sorry to say.
But yeah, Abracadabra.
Okay, so the shtick, the whole gist of this spilling is that he wants revenge because people laughed at him, and people laughed at him because one little girl who happens to resemble Blossom, but if you ask me, she resembles all of them.
Yes.
She happens to resemble Blossom. Accidentally showed the world his trick by literally grabbing on his pants once the magician made her teddy bear disappear once she was called onto stage to be an assistant to the show. And I managed to say this in the most convoluted way possible. I just realized.
Yes.
But the point is, people laughed at him, and he actually stumbled backwards until he accidentally fell into a
Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden. Actually, not just any Iron Maiden. It didn't just have spikes inside it. It also had spikes outside of it. It was like a coffin covered in spikes, and he dies inside that coffin.
That's dark.
That's really dark. And when
the thing is, no one moved that thing.
that was okay. Never mind that. That's a bit of a plot hole. But anyway, the really creepy factor is that once he returns, and in his tomb, his crypt, his coffin made of spikes opens up. It seems like a hellish red light comes out of it, and he slowly rises with his putrid, zombified hand, only to have 3 dead flowers magically appear. and then he starts to terrorize the city, and in a legitimately unsettling scene. I'd like to say when he walks in the streets with people just staring at him, and there is this music that goes loud, and then he turns buildings into bird cages and literal castles of cards, and turns a bus into a hopping giant demonic bunny, and does all sort of evil zombie magician stuff.
Yeah, I remember him based on his design alone, just because it looks so creepy, and also because I just love magicians. So
I am a bit bothered by how they actually defeat this villain, because it doesn't really make much sense.
I forgot how they
when
defeated him.
Well, they somehow managed to reverse a hypnosis trick by the magician himself. And so when you think that Blossom is the one that actually gets sent inside the coffin with spikes, it was actually the magician. And the magician was actually Blossom in disguise. And this is confusing because it was never established anywhere in this episode that Blossom was good at magic trickery.
Yeah.
So that's why it seems a bit of a rushed finale. That's only because it was 10 minutes long, the episode.
Which is a shame, really.
Yeah, I think the best stories usually in this show are the ones that take 20 minutes to tell, and season 4 is mostly made of 20 minutes long episodes, if you exclude the last two ones, and and like I said many times before, season 5 was really the height of the TV run of the show.
So yeah, the Abracadabra could have been had a lot of potential to be cool, but the way he's defeated is a bit
also
underwhelming.
It doesn't really have much to say in terms of actual lines of dialogue.
No,
he's all like, "You laughed at me, now revenge."
Well, I don't know. I think you can get away with some villains being like that.
Well, he really didn't need to say anything already. His actions and his appearance already spoke a lot of his, demeanor, so to speak.
Mm.
So, Nightmare, do you remember Abracadabra?
I can't say I do.
Well, he's been a fundamental contribution to this discussion.
Yes, I'm useful.
Okay, so basically he's a glorified spectator.
Let's see, the next one I can think of, really, probably out of order, really, this one, because I think I saw the episodes out of order in their run.
Probably.
Another villain that stuck out to me was that clown.
Yes, the clown that turns into a mime.
Yes, and
in the most ridiculous, it was kind of ridiculous to imagine that paint solvent, bleach, basically turns him evil, and with the ability to drain color from all living things.
Yes, that makes no total sense at all.
Actually, not. It wasn't even bleach. It was concrete, I think.
I thought it was
or
bleach.
Something. I don't know.
I thought it was bleach because it literally bleached out all the colors.
Something that came out of a vehicle or transportation that's usually adulterated for the transportation of concrete or something like that.
The only reason he stuck out to me was because the fact that anytime he removed color, everything became silent, like a silent film.
I think the only reason why this episode actually is remembered at all is because of la 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 makes the world go round.
Yeah, that
one song.
That one song that got stuck in people's heads
forever.
Yes.
And apparently it's the magic of singing that saves the day.
Yes, and brings color back to the world.
This was Rainbow Rocks even before Rainbow Rocks.
Yes, Bubbles was the Rainbow Rocks of rocks.
Yay and all that.
Well, like I said, I thought the ending to it was kind of funny because
They beat him up. I mean, okay,
Yeah,
they spent 2 minutes singing about love and all of that, and then beat the living feces out of the clown once he was reformed.
Yes, once he was turned back to normal, they not only beat him up, they sent him to jail.
Everybody in this show gets sent to jail, which is the exact opposite of Powerpuff Girls Z, where nobody is ever sent to jail. No, instead they are blasted away like Team Rocket. Yes, God, stupid Pokemon.
Yes. Let's see. Who was the next?
Actually, you know what? No, not like Team Rocket, like Team Torombo. Though that is the original trio of villainous caricatures that gets exploded away. Actually, not necessarily Team Dorombo, but any iteration of the trio in any of the series in the Time Bokan meta series by Tatsunoko, and that is an argument for a whole other podcast.
Yes, definitely.
Because it is such a long and complex argument.
Yes, it would take 30 minutes for you to talk about it.
At least.
Anyway, on to the next one, if we can remember any more.
Well, there is the cat.
The cat. I'm trying to remember.
Cat. The evil genius cat. That basically manipulates people to do his dirty work.
I remember.
And he possesses the professor.
Yes, I think I remember it, but
it's the episode Kathmandu.
Again, I remember scenes of that episode, but I don't actually remember all of it.
Okay. So the girls fight off some sort of evil scientist, evil bad guy, who happens to have a cat.
Yes, and Bubbles takes him home, if I remember correctly.
Yes, Bubbles takes him home because he's a cute little cat. The cat is really like the white cat from the white cat that was owned by the leader of the Spectre. Yes, it's always a white cat. So they want to adopt him, but the professor doesn't quite like cats. And then it so happens that the cat possesses the professor.
Oh yeah, I remember the scene after. He says, "We could keep him." And then the girl's like, "Oh, I want to play with him, And he goes, "No, you can never hold Kitty." And then he runs into the lab like some crazed lunatic. That's like warning bells already. That something is wrong.
So anyway, yes, the cat gets stuck in a tree, and that's the end of it.
Oh, that's the end of that villain.
Yeah, he's stuck in a tree. Oh, mother of all irony.
You know what? Another one-shot villain that that was kind of silly. The alien broccoli.
Oh my god, that episode was cruel, I'd like to say. Real cruel towards broccoli people, at least.
Extremely cruel to broccoli.
I like the thing that after the girls tried to beat up the broccoli invaders once, they immediately figure out that the only way to beat them is to eat them. I don't know. You could try to use laser eyes or some other of your weapons, like the flaming kitten of doom. No, you have to eat them. That's the only way, because the episode is 10 minutes long.
Yes.
Oh man,
they eat them.
Yes.
Living beings.
They and all the children of Townsville literally devour sentient broccoli people that are invading the city.
Yeah, and all the
might be a bit more dark than I remember.
This show can be extremely dark. Don't get me started on all the prison rape jokes.
There was also a bit. There was two things to note in this episode. One, the beginning where all the parents of Townville are trying to convince their children to eat
That was
broccoli because
funny.
it's good for you.
That was really funny.
And suddenly the alien people are like going, after they eat our broccoli, they will go into a comatose state where they will not be able to do anything against us.
Explain the entire scheme in the most phoned-in way possible.
Exposition.
It's funny. It's funny because of that.
Yes. And the ending where the leader basically is like
he begs
for his life.
But no, they eat him anyway. That was cruel. Okay, and once the invasion is done and dealt with, they decided to basically declare war to all the remaining broccoli in the planet and eat them all.
Yes, give him hell, boys.
Yeah, give him heck.
Yes,
they can say hell. Speaking of weird censorship.
What?
The guns from season 2 on, the guns had been recolored. There are a lot of guns appearing in the show, but they are guns. They are obviously guns. They are used as guns, and they shoot bullets like guns.
Yes.
But for some reason, from season 2 on, they all become red.
Red guns.
Red guns, which is slightly better than...
At least they are not walkie-talkies.
At least they're not invisible guns.
Yes, invisible guns and walkie-talkies. At least they're not invisible walkie-talkies. Let's be glad about that.
Oh, man. So, okay. The broccoli... that's the end of the broccoli empire, because apparently... an entire alien invading force can be defeated by a bunch of rat-tack children, cannibal children, and also that's the end of the entire species.
Can it be really called cannibalism if they're not eating their own kind?
Well, it's cannibalism in the sense that they are eating sentient, talking people, much like they are. So it feels like cannibalism.
Yeah. Oh goodness, that was the darkest one shot. In one scene, anyway, it was.
It was quite amusing to see what kind of things this show can get away with. I mean, don't get me started on the. Did I say prison rape jokes?
Yeah, prison rape. You said prison rape jokes, and
yes.
Also seducers' bra pads.
Oh, yes. Oh, and there was this one line from the episode Super Friends in which the little girl says she was an accident, much like the girls themselves.
Yeah.
And yes, it was. And also I said this like 4 times already, but Super Friends is the best episode in the entire show.
You know what, as one-shot villains go, you know the one character that sticks out the most to me every time I think one-shot?
Please tell me.
Mr. Midlife Crisis Smith.
No, it was not a one-shot. He had 2 episodes.
Well, he counts as a one-shot to me anyway. Just
okay,
because he wasn't
Harold
recurring.
Smith, well, Harold Smith is really an interesting character. He's a guy, mostly because his story is not the kind of story you will expect in a children's cartoon, no matter their specific time. Because the guy was having a midlife crisis, stuck in a job that was like a prison sentence to him, and unappreciated by his family, and a wife that's obsessed with having the perfect dinner,
Yes.
and a son that doesn't respect him at all, and a daughter that, quite frankly, seems to have some issues.
I just remember the intro. It was so unlike any other. Basically, they just showed this guy's life, and it'd be the same thing every day.
Yes.
Right down to the wife going, "You never guess what we're having for breakfast? Pancakes!"
Yay! Also, I have to say the voice of the wife, the wife sounded too young.
Yeah, the wife definitely did sound too young. It was. Even though she was supposed to be like, what, 40?
More or less. Apparently they've been married since the 1980. So
probably in the 40s, yeah.
So Harold Smith has a midlife crisis. So of course he wants to become a supervillain to escape the monotony of his life. So he gets excited every time he hears news about Mojo Jojo doing something evil. But then his nerves almost explode whenever the Powerpuff Girls are there to save the day and bring everything into the status quo of good triumphing over evil. And that's the interesting aspect of his personality. Thematically speaking, to him, supervillainy means getting out of the mold of everyday life.
And getting out the shackles of everyday life.
Doing something extreme, doing something that you're not supposed to do. But then the superheroes, the Powerpuff Girls, are there to save the day and they would bring everything back to normal, to the status quo, to the mold of the life that Harold so hates. And I love this because it is never spelled out loud. It is shown to us by his reaction to the very name of the Powerpuff Girls, to the point that he cannot even stand the idea of being under the same roof for a one dinner night. He tries, but he
goes crazy.
He goes crazy in the most hilarious way possible, and he puts on this completely ridiculous supervillain dress with a stupid antenna atop his head, and he fashioned a hair blower, a hair dryer, like some sort of laser gun, and he threatens to blow the professor's head off by the end of the dinner night.
If I remember correctly, the way he said he was going to blow his head off was he's going to melt his neck off.
Or something like that.
Yeah, something to that. If I remember correctly, I'm saying this from memory, really, but he's said something to that effect. So it was quite funny, especially when they went to dinner and they're all this awkward dinner where the wife's trying to pretend everything's all nice and perfect.
Yes.
But then it like pans to show the other family members.
Yes, and that was actually a very good shot. The way it pans around the table, showing everyone how they are doing in this dinner. And okay, so Harold and the Powerpuff Girls are competing to finish their meals first, and the professor is trying to go as slowest as possible, and the wife is trying to pretend everything is fine because her own psychology, her own psyche depends on that. And Bud Smith, the son, now for the first time looks up to his dad.
Yeah, like, that's so cool, Dad.
And there is the daughter, which is just obsessed with her jacks.
Yes, she has a jack fetish. Not fetish, no, wrong word.
Well, she becomes a supervillain in the sequel to this episode because the Powerpuff Girls apparently misplaced her jacks. So her entire character motivation is jacks.
Yes, everything's jacks for that girl.
Everything is jacks.
She even plays as Jax in Mortal Kombat if she could. Anyway, the funny thing about that dinner scene is that, to me, it was at one point when they're eating dinner and everyone was done except for Professor Utonium, and he goes like, and it's like that one scene where he goes like,
the last P.
Eat your pea, Professor Utonium.
Real slowly.
Chew it. Swallow it.
And then, who wants dessert? I do. And then everything devolves into a pie fight. Throwing pies to each other. Apparently, Marianne Smith made a lot of pies.
Oh, she's a great pie maker. What can you say about that? It's just afterwards the police come bursting in and arrest him just because
they just so happen to pass by.
Yeah.
And hear the commotion.
And then the wife goes crazy, which leads into the second part of this episode.
Which should not be talked about because it was really a lame episode.
Yes, extremely lame. Let's put it this way, folks. Supervillain family team doesn't work.
It should work, but it doesn't.
It's good. It just comes off as
forced.
So do we remember anyone else after?
Okay, let's talk about the crooked cop that I mentioned in passing in the previous podcast. There was this episode about this really bad cop who was completely lazy and unprofessional and didn't do anything right, but he was also full of himself and he complains constantly about the Powerpuff Girls stealing the job to good cops, which would be a legitimate complaint if it didn't come from the mouth of this lazy bastard, who gets fired, by the way, because he is really unreliable. So he plans his revenge against the girls by luring them into an abandoned factory, managed to tie them with unbreakable chains built by Mojo Jojo to a rock to be melted into acid. Luckily, they are immune to acid. They didn't know that, but they discovered it. And also luckily, the actual police forces actually for once managed to save the day.
Yeah, I remember that episode, but not fully, really, as per usual. I just remember the ending to that episode where they go like, and the day was saved by the Townsville police force.
Yes, for a change. So I like an episode in which they actually try to represent the police force, the local police force, as actually, competent, in spite of the fact that they are clearly outmatched as a force of good by the actual superheroes.
It also
to the point that you think they wouldn't do anything at all, but they try at least.
Yes, it also doesn't help that the episode in which I mentioned before about the Townsville being full of idiots that don't know how to deal with anything.
That episode comes before that.
Yeah.
Actually.
So it kind of is funny to see it in that order.
You could say that they learned their lesson, but you could also say that there is not actually a proper continuity. So the reality here is flexible.
So I don't really know much about the cop to actually give the crooked cop to give a fair view on him, really, other than the fact he was a lazy sod.
Yeah, he was a legitimate villain because he was bitter, basically. He was bitter, and also he completely lacked self-awareness. So he thought he was in the right all along, and he wanted revenge for
getting fired
because he thinks it's because of them that he's without a job.
Blaming the first thing he can think of.
Okay, speaking of Devar.
Yeah.
Remember Lenny, the comic book collector?
Why does that sound so bloody familiar now?
Lenny. This is how some fans tend to be. Completely obsessed with one thing, to the point that they would collect every single memorabilia or toy paraphernalia related to that franchise that they like, but losing also the sight of why they liked it to begin with. And they don't have a life at all at this point. He is the guy who was so obsessed in collecting Powerpuff Girls stuff that he actually ended up collecting the Powerpuff Girls themselves.
Yeah, that was a bit of a something that happened at one point.
There is one thing that bothers me about this episode.
What would that be?
Okay, so I like the idea that the entire city of Townsville moves as a unit to rescue their favorite girls, which is nice.
Yeah, I remember that much, at least.
But the way they go about it leaves something to be desired.
A bad taste in one's mouth.
The mayor of Townsville, which is apparently now a genius investigator, manages to figure out that Lenny was behind this because he was the only one who didn't show up when the entire city was called upon for this crisis. Great
deduction.
It turns out to be completely right, but it doesn't change the fact that the entire city, like a mob, just break into the guy's house and not even
Give him a chance to talk.
Not even giving a chance to talk. Not even giving a chance to explain himself. Not even having him to say. Not even asking him if he actually stole the girls. They start immediately breaking up his confections, because apparently they already know he's the guilty party, even though they don't have any finishing or conclusive proof of that. And yes.
Apparently the mayor's Batman. He's the master detective.
Yes, and he cannot open a pickle. He cannot open a pickle base.
And he needs someone to catch his pig.
Also he puts compact discs on his gramophone.
Oh dear.
And the horrible noise that's generated from that he thinks is techno music.
Yeah, behind the times as well. To the list of stupid.
Yeah.
So yeah, the comic book nerd, a bit too close to home.
Yes, there are. I never actually have been that kind of individual. Never been a collector, so to speak, let alone a collector of toys. At least not in my adult years, because that would have been embarrassing. That would have been so embarrassing.
Yeah, I've never gotten to that far to collect every memorabilia. Just a figurine every so often, maybe. You know, that's all I would go for. You know, anything I could like put on a shelf, and that would be pretty much it. So, but the fact I've seen these kind of people just makes it all the more awkward.
Remember the what's his name? There was this little man.
Headsucker.
What?
Headsucker.
The head sucker. Thank you.
Headsucker.
I'm reading the wiki.
Immediately. Okay. Yes. Remember the head sucker. And there was this little man who would literally suck information out of a person's brain to steal things.
I have a vague memory of that guy, just because I remember the animation of him sticking his mouth around someone's head.
Actually, he was introduced like in a horror movie. It was like the victim who was walking on his own alone at night, and then something is stalking him, and then something attacks him in a jump scare fashion. And then you hear this music, dun 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 dun, and the noise of sucking.
Yeah, I don't remember that character very well at all.
It doesn't have a single speaking line. It's all just his actions speak for himself.
Didn't he try sucking on the mayor's head, but it just couldn't get anything?
Yeah, and that's what defeated him, because it was the mayor's head was so empty it actually damaged his own intelligence. Yes.
So that's the only thing I remember about him. Really, other than that, just that one scene, everything else is completely blank on that guy for me. He must have sucked my memory out of him.
Well, you should have a strong headache, and a little circle sign on the side of your head.
Oh no, that's my hair.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember.
There are a lot. Okay, let's talk about season 4. Season 4, there is this. Remember the megalomaniac alien super intelligence that came to Earth to conquer it and was able to predict every single action of the Powerpuff Girls, to the point that the girls had to ally themselves with Mojo Jojo in order to match the evilness of the invading alien force, which turned out to be a giant Garon-style robot that was basically creating tornadoes and freezing and destroying everything and forcing people to bow down. And at the end, Mojo Jojo is so pissed off by this guy who's stealing all of his ideas for world domination that he just snaps and beats him up, and with a moldy baguette, and then forces him to submit.
Yeah, didn't he act like a monkey at that point?
Yeah, he was so mad.
Enraged.
Okay, if who would have known Mojo was that strong? That was the only moment in which he was so mad he just lost it completely, and he was able to beat. And basically, the super alien intelligence was beat because Mojo did the only thing that the alien intelligence could not match, which was being completely unpredictable. And yes, it's the kind of enemy you can defeat only by being completely unpredictable. Because otherwise he would predict everything, every move, every scheme, everything.
Yeah.
So
that's it. When it comes to that villain, I remember that scene with Mojo just literally just going to town on that villain.
yes, then he becomes national hero, and the girls even hug him and call him their hero, and Mojo is like, no, I'm not a hero. I'm no hero. No,
Yeah,
no,
even the narrator's like, and the day was saved thanks to Mojo Jojo. No, I did not. No, but you did. You saved the day. No, I didn't.
Yes. So like this reminds me, there was an episode in season 6 in which Mojo actually kidnaps the narrator and takes his place.
Oh god, why does that remind me so much of Space Cats, where a bunch of villains decide to gag the narrator?
Space Cats?
Yeah, it's a very old cartoon. They had a segment where they had a puppet of the alien cat, and then there was a cartoon segment. One of them was voiced by Rob Paulson.
That wouldn't surprise me, because one of the last episodes of the show, period, was actually a parody of Rocky and Bullwinkle. Bullwinkle.
Yeah, Bullwinkle.
And that had a one-shot villain, some sort of a gypsy, a clairvoyance.
Clairvoyance, yeah.
And it's not interesting in the slightest, so we might as well not even talk about it.
Well, I don't even know that one anyway, so.
But remember that episode with the nanomachines that came with the rain?
Nanomachines? Oh, SC knows them.
Yes, I know something.
Okay.
Alright, here, you can have my hat and sunglasses. Pretend to be me for 10 seconds. So, you remember them, SC?
Yes, slightly.
So
more than the others.
So right now he is being memed by saying he remembers them slightly.
Okay, care to elaborate?
Rain started to fall and was eating away at the town.
Yes. Good.
And they found out it was nanomachines.
Yes, which begs the question, who built them?
If that was in the
No, it was never explained. They just came and went.
Who cares? And the professor shrinks the girls to fight the nanomachines individually.
Which seemed like a good idea at the time, I guess.
Well, a good idea on paper, but then you get to the actual thing. Well,
they actually managed to almost defeat them, but they all decide to merge into one huge 6-inch tall robot that the professor just proceeds to squash with his foot once he realizes he can actually do that.
At least there's one smart person in the town.
Yeah, well, you had to wait until the guys were almost defeated to do that, but okay. He kind of saved the day.
The day was saved by the Professor Utonium shoe. That should have been how it ended.
There was a lot of reused frames of animation in that episode. Specifically, one shot of 3 nanomachines running towards the screen. That shot was repeated 4 times. it is obvious that some scenes were done to fill the 20 minutes total duration for this episode, because this is season 4, where every episode is 20 minutes long. And for the most part, though, they are well paced. Speaking of which, one of the funniest episodes in that season is Film Flam.
No, not Flim Flam from the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo.
No, Film Flam. Which and the villain was this phony Hollywood director who wanted to direct a Powerpuff Girls movie, but it was all a hoax for robbing the local bank. Remember that?
Yes, I partially remember that one.
His name was Bernie Bernstein.
Well,
he was a suave, sweet talker, but an charismatic, but funny, but also extremely arrogant, extremely douchey. It was satisfying when the professor punched him in the face.
Yes, extremely satisfying.
When he was the professor was coincidentally the professor was wearing a drag, was dressed like a drag queen because he had to infiltrate the set as an extra.
best father ever, willing to dress up a la Robin Williams, Mrs. Doubtfire style, just to
pretty much
punch a guy in the face.
Actually, it was more like Dustin Hoffman's own cross-dressing film.
I wouldn't know that one. I only know the Robin Williams.
Tootsie, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember that one. Yes, it was like
Dustin Hoffman's Tootsie. I think that was the direct reference. I mean, the wig was pretty much like Tootsie's. So there. It was fun, and I enjoy the fact that they say at the end of it that making a Powerpuff Girls movie is a bad idea, it shouldn't be done, and then 1 year after that they make the actual Powerpuff Girls movie, and it's pure concentrated excellency.
That's great advertisement.
That film is fantastic. It summarizes, encapsulates, and
all the
evaluates everything we know and love about the show. It has drama, comedy, action, slice of life, and dark moments. And it's possibly the best introduction to the series as a whole, too, since it's basically the origin story.
Now that we've talked about all these villains, do we even have any more to talk about?
Yes, we do.
There's one I don't know why I know him. I found on the wiki the gnome.
Yes.
And he's from a band episode.
Yes.
It
was a band.
Why do I know him?
Because he's awesome. Because he's voiced by Jesse Artnett,
the guy who voiced Wacko.
And he's also the guy who's an actual singer. And he does a killer impression of
Jack Black. Was it Jack Black?
He was actually using his own singing voice, but he does a killer impression of Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh yeah, that's what I was thinking of. I guess.
So that episode, See Me, Feel Me, Know Me, officially it was banned because of political controversies, but in actuality it was banned because of really fast light effects might have during the Tai Lai Lufti de Santra Megiddo portion of the episode might have caused seizures.
Let's see.
If you see that scene, if you are photosensible, that scene has a lot of really quick light going in and out.
Yeah, like red and white, I believe it was.
Red and white, which might cause seizure attacks to people who are sensible to that. Which is too bad, because that is also the best part of the entire episode.
Yeah, I love that bit. But starting from the beginning, the girls
the city of Townsville's going down.
Yeah, all the villains are going to town on...
Townsville's going down.
Episode, was it?
Yes, it was a musical episode. It was amazing.
It was a rock opera a la Jesus Christ Superstar. Townsville's going down.
All the
I'm
villains
gonna
are-
turn your smiles upside down, and all the little babies
Yes, as you can tell.
are going to cry. I actually got to be honest.
Yeah.
This the soundtrack was great, but the singing voices were not so great on a second viewing, I have to say. The only one who was actually fantastic in his singing voice was, of course, Jesse Hartnett, but because he was an actual singer.
Yeah.
And he steals the show, by the way.
Well, at least he's the one that's singing most of the time.
Yes.
But
that's for a good reason.
yes, but anyway, we should say that the villains all going to town on Townsville. So
Townsville is going Downsville.
Yes, so and the Powerpuff Girls come to save the day, but then they get
You'd think all the villains in Townsville would have figured out earlier on that if we were to team up together, they could actually defeat. They could actually defeat the Powerpuff Girls. No, even yes, imagine like the Beatles, but larger. Like it would include everyone, even the Amoeba Boys for some reason.
because they could steal an orange.
Yes,
They're the only ones.
Also they can litter.
Yes,
And they can walk, and they won't keep off the grass.
yes, they're good guardsmen of the grass.
Actually, it took them 5 seasons to finally steal an orange.
Let me think now, because anyway, as I said, all the villains, beat the crud out of the Powerpuff Girls, and then the girls are all like,
we will always live in a storm of rain.
Yeah, basically they're having this moment where they just want to live a normal life without having to deal with
actually,
it.
they're so overwhelmed by the evil in the town that they cannot take it anymore, and they wish for a better change. And then the gnome comes out of nowhere. I don't quite understand what the gnome is supposed to be, but is he interesting?
Yeah,
and I heard your tears, little girls. So here I am.
Yeah, and basically gives them the chance to grant their wish of giving them a better change.
It will be for free. You gotta give me something, girls. You gotta give something to me. Hey, how about your lives? As in, there's not literally their lives, more like their superpowers, which are what makes them in their current life, so to speak. So they have to give up their powers and to be normal girls, which is an argument that convinces them because they have actually the chance to live a normal life without the crime-fighting responsibilities. And I love this because it harkens to a subtext, or well, to a theme that's been with us for the entirety of the show. The dichotomy between the fact that they are superheroes and they have duties that would force them to grow up and have responsibilities to babysit an entire town. Mm-hmm. And on the other hand, the fact that they are children, and as children, they would have the right to play and have carefree lives and enjoy the fact that they are children, because childhood is such a fleeting moment to begin with. And now, with this gnome, they have the chance to be that, to be normal little girls. So the whole deal with the gnome is that he will rid this world of evil, so the only good will be left. Of course, the obvious paradox that they are quick to figure out is that there cannot be good without evil, because it's the fundamental balance of the world, the fundamental dichotomy in which the laws of this reality are built upon. So if there cannot be good without evil, then the gnome, who becomes basically some sort of communist, I want to say, Stalinian, totalitarian dictator, kind of, has to be the evil one, logically speaking.
The one thing I liked about I don't know why the song that sticks out to me is when he goes like when he does his little chant thing where he goes like
Shala, no, they say Tai Lai Lufti the Santra Megiddo.
Yeah, that's
Hear
one.
me, fathers of the earth, hear me, fathers of the sea.
God, I would love to hear a band do a cover song on that.
Help me rid the city of its villainous treachery. Reunite above me, fathers. Reunite above me, na na na. I chant to set them free. Tai Lai, lufti the Santra Megiddo. Hear me, fathers, now, and then he reveals his pectoral muscles.
Yeah, for a gnome, he has the biggest muscles ever.
There is a constant, and the camera pans constantly on his generous pectorals muscles. Hear me, fathers, now. Tai Lai lufti the Santra Megiddo. Oh, 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 oh. Tai Lai lufti the Santra Megiddo. Yeah, yeah. Tai Lai lufti the Santra Megiddo. Hear me, the spirits now. Tai Lai lufti the Santra Megiddo. And then there is this. And then the rest of the song feels like something out of a Pink Floyd song, with this with the guitar riff and the music in general. It has this mood from my Pink Floyd album. Like, in fact, certain songs even remind me directly of Pink Floyd The Wall. Like, the instrumentation at the very least. Like when the professor sings about freedom beef.
Freedom beef!
Do the people have to be freedom beef? Which reminded me of how, well, basically when in Pink Floyd The Walls, the students were basically treated like meat for the meat grinder.
Thinking about that though, other than his singing voice, was there anything else to the gnome other than that? Because all I can remember is that he just wanted to just get rid of all evil, but yet he himself was...
Actually, I think the gnome was actually really happy with the idea of ruling over the people. He really thought, he was really convinced that he was the good guy. That's what I get from the verses of his songs. So,
because that's what I gathered as well. That
when he actually gets repelled by the girls who regain their powers, he realizes at this point that he can no longer exist in this reality because he goes against the fundamental logic of good versus evil, and he cannot put himself above it. So that creates a paradox with his own existence, and he basically is rejected by this world. And all that is conveyed in his final monologue as he falls into the metaphorical and literal abyss of his doom.
And then everything's back to normal, and the villains have a big sing-song.
And everybody sings about living together, which goes completely against what was sung in the previous song about yin and yang, good and evil, and now let's all get along. That actually doesn't make much sense in retrospect.
We need good versus evil, but we'll get along with them for this one song.
So once again, the day is saved thanks to the Powerpuff Girls. Okay.
Okay, did you remember all those songs, or do you have them listed somewhere?
Well, here's the thing. No, I remember them. I just remembered them.
Okay.
If I would remember them as well, but I haven't sang any of them in a long while. So that would be detrimental to me remembering the lines. But still, I would love to hear a cover song of that chant that.
On the Tai Lai Lufti the Santra Megiddo.
I would love to hear a band like
Sonata Arctica.
Well, to to be honest, they're the best for atmospherics in my view. So
Okay.
that would probably be
That'd be
good.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Well, that song is called "Hear Me, Fathers."
Yeah,
Yes,
Hear Me
is called-
Fathers.
It is called Hear Me Fathers, but, you know, it will always be Tylai Luffy the Santa
Megiddo.
Megiddo, which doesn't mean anything at all, but who cares?
Megiddo is fields near somewhere in Jerusalem, I think.
all the words don't really have any meaning whatsoever, but they are just they don't come from any language. Maybe the Megiddo, but it doesn't really mean anything.
To the untrained ear, the people might think that he's singing Latin.
No, that's anything.
That's definitely
but
not Latin. I've heard
but
Latin. I've heard Rhapsody of Fire sing Latin, so I know what Latin is.
I like to think I know how Latin sounds too.
Yes,
So
but it's
that's
just saying.
definitely
That's
not
why I
Latin.
said to the untrained ear, it'd probably sound like Latin.
To the untrained ear, everything that's not in English would sound like Latin.
No, it'll sound like gobbledygook. Everything would sound like gobbledygook. Let's see.
Okay, I think
we've
yes.
exhausted our villains
I
list.
think I think there are. I'm sure there are more, but these are the most memorable. And with the gnome, we ended in the grand style. So
Yes, the
there you go.
grandiose way.
The grandioso way. Yes.
So I think we're done here, really.
Yes.
I mean, we're talking about like 1 hour and 15 minutes almost.
Yes.
So let's say our good nights and get going.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us, folks, for this little reminiscing about one-shot villains that didn't get to become reoccurring villains, even though we would like a couple of them to have been, like the Boogeyman.
Yes. The boogeyman, especially. Yes.
So till next time, folks, when we talk about something else other than Powerpuff Girls, maybe. Though, most likely we'll be talking about ponies next time, so...
Ponies!
Yeah, ponies!
We could kill two birds with one stone and talk about double rainbow. No.
No.
Why not?
Because
Powerpuff Girls were out of character.
Because it's really not flattering for the PPG that so-called fan-made episode.
Yes, totally out of character. Anyway, so till next time, folks. Thanks for joining us, and take care of yourselves out there. I've been Devar.
And I've been Madhog Thy Master.
And I have been the very silent guest, SC2 Nightmare.
Yes, he's basically there to listen to us speak. That's
and also pretend to be me for 30 seconds.
10 seconds. Okay then. So I guess good night, everybody. I think at some point I will have to review the Powerpuff Girls Z.
Oh
because
gosh.
It has so many potential for jokes.
Take care, folks.
Yes, good night.
Megiddo.
Farewell.
Megiddo.